It's 2 a.m. with Nathan. John 16:22. So also you have sorrow now, but I will see you again, and your hearts will rejoice, and no one will take your joy from you. I have with me this morning a handkerchief. There's all kinds of good uses for a handkerchief. You can use it for blowing your nose. You can use it and make a little parachute, tie a little army man to it, and throw it off and let it parachute out the window or off the deck. You can use it as a face mask, right? You can even use it for drying your tears when you've been sad and crying and mourning. This morning, as I watched the Easter services and looked at how people celebrated and posted online or honked horns or gathered as families and virtually watched church services and stuff, tweeting out things, sharing things, texting, calling each other. There was a lot of celebration. There was a lot of He is risen. There was a lot of Happy Easter. But there was also a lot of mourning. We mourned that we couldn't get together in a church. We mourned that traditions were broken. We mourned we couldn't do things the way we've done them in the past, like special programs like Easter egg hunts or getting dressed up for Easter services. We mourned these things. We mourned not being able to gather together with family and friends and give them a hug and have a meal with them. And we were pretty sad. People said, well, get through it anyways, focus on the right thing. But there was a lot of mourning this morning. and yet, we can mourn for the right reasons, or we can mourn for the completely wrong reasons too. I wonder if we asked Jesus what we were mourning about this morning, if we mourned for the right things. I suspect He might have a different answer for us. We might have missed it. And this is the beautiful thing about Easter, is that it's an opportunity to reset. To say, okay, God, where did I miss it? How can we move forward? So what should we have been mourning about this morning? One thing, of course, is about our sin. It was because of our sin that Jesus died on the cross. Because we were separated from God because we sinned. And we're far from God. And that's something we should mourn. It's darkened our hearts. It's kept us from God. And yet, instead of mourning, many times we join with the culture in celebrating those very things that insult God. The world finds amusement in the things that Jesus died for. And many times, instead of grieving over our sins, we join in that way. And that's something that we should mourn over. We should also mourn over the consequences of our sins. There's a stain on this world because we have not lived right with God. And our culture has been stained by sin. They say over 100,000 people-ish have died because of the coronavirus at this point. But I also look at the numbers that say 10 million people will die of starvation this year, and died last year because of a lack of food, and died the year before, and the year before. Well, we have lots of food ourselves. That's not good. We should grieve over that. Or how about the idea that there's 50 million babies that are aborted every year? We should grieve over that. These are consequences of sin, and we need to grieve in the midst of that. Were we mourning for that? Or how about the mourning that comes over lost souls? They say about 2.7 million Americans died last year, and that's pretty normal for a year. And they say that about 57 million people die worldwide. As we consider that many people dying, the question is, how many of them knew Jesus? How many of them had a Christian come and share with them? How many lived on our streets and we never reached out and shared the good news with them? Have we been investing in the wrong stuff? Investing our lives in the stuff that doesn't matter? That's something that we should mourn over. Easter is a time we can reset. Where God says, hey, you came to the tomb, but guess what? Jesus isn't here. He's over there. Go and find him. It's a time to reset. And so he says to him, it says to us also, why are you looking for the living among the dead? We should be mourning, but not over our lack of comforts and the lack of traditions, but that the people down the road, the kids living down the street, haven't heard the gospel yet from us. We need to grieve over that. And we need to grieve over the idea that we've been locked away in our churches, and millions of neighbors don't know Jesus, haven't experienced him. The beauty behind mourning and grieving with Christ is we get to rejoice with him. That's what that verse says, right? We get to rejoice with Christ. Unless we grieve with Christ, we can't rejoice with Christ. And so my challenge is this. As you go throughout the day today, say, God, break my heart with the things I'm missing. Show me where I'm stuck in that tradition. One of the things I preached on yesterday is that traditions are keeping us in the tomb instead of seeking the risen Christ. Do we love Jesus enough to ask him where we're missing it? Do we love Jesus enough to say, show me so that way I can grieve with you, so that way I can rejoice with you? There's a lot of joy that's waiting for us with Christ, a joy that can't be taken away. But we got to say, God, show us what we need to do next. Where's the resurrected Christ? Where's the empty tomb that we've been hanging around? Show us where to go next. Have a great day.